The Nintendo Switch 2 is finally here, and there's a lot of controversy where people are arguing over the price and whether the Nintendo Switch 2 is worth buying or not. But here's the problem. Who's right? Well, the short answer is none of them, as they're all wrong and full of shit. And here's why. Everyone is too stuck up in their own shit, and they can't see the bigger picture. Look, every part about this console is expensive, and Nintendo is trying to shave you of every penny. And if you can't see this, or you're defending this, you gotta be the biggest arselicker out there. But just because Nintendo is being a dick doesn't mean you can't buy it. So hear me out on my take on all of this. The Switch 2 does not deserve that much money, but it might just be worth that money. Now before you come at me with your pitchforks at me in the comments, let me elaborate. Look, straight up, the Switch 2 does not deserve to have that high of a price. Between the tech demo, game chat, and the price of Mario Kart, but besides all this, it's still Nintendo's next generation. It's still the next Mario Kart. Sure, these games don't get enough time and energy put into them as they should for the prices they're charging, but it's still the games we love. So I ask, is it actually worth buying? Well, that's what we're here to find out. Now before we continue, I know some dumb fuck in the comments is going to say, I'm sick of people complaining about the Nintendo Switch 2 if they're just going to buy it anyways. 1, I don't even know myself yet if I'm going to buy it or not. And 2, so according to this logic, you can't complain about the price of food and everything else going up. Like bro, shut your bitch ass up. So if you wake up the next day and food has gone up 10 times the price, you can't complain about it because you're going to buy it anyways. I actually pray for people who are this mentally challenged. If anything, it should be the other way around, as there's less need to complain if you're not getting it, and if you complain, you might actually get it cheaper. With the Switch 2, we probably won't get any price decrease from Nintendo, but there's others who will decrease their prices. More on that later. Nintendo isn't going to drop their prices, and I know you can make the argument about the 3DS and how that went down in price only a few months later. It went from $250 to $170, a third slashed off the price. But here's the catch. The Nintendo we knew then are not the same Nintendo we know now. Remember the Wii U, how it was a flop? Well, the head of Nintendo, Iwata, split his paycheck in half so he could let the developers work on their games without the worry of being sacked, so they could focus on making good games. Well, I don't think the current lads in charge would do that if you held them at gunpoint. And actually, remember how the 3DS dropped in price? Well, that was thanks to Reggie, head of Nintendo America at that time. This man wasn't a greedy businessman. He was a real one. He understood the gaming industry and the gaming community, and if there's one thing he would not let slide, it would be paid tech demos. And I'm being generous. This is more like an interactive user manual. Now just imagine any time you buy a new equipment, new machines, new technology, they start charging you $10 for a fucking user manual. Who the fuck thought this was a good idea, charging money for this type of shit? Sure, there's the odd fun minigame which stops being fun after 10 minutes, so I'm basically paying $1 per minute to have a bit of fun. Remember the 3DS tech demo, how you could just fuck around with the fun free games that came with it, or the PlayStation 5 with Astro's Playroom, which I'm not gonna lie, that game was so good, people wanted an actual full length game in this tech demo, which later down the line they did, and we got an absolute banger, Astrobot, which then got Game of the Year, and actually, Astrobot is the main reason I bought a PlayStation 5 myself. Now of course I can't forget about the Wii. I'm sure everyone's favourite tech demo. My goat Reggie had to fight to get the Wii Sports included with the Wii, and oh boy did it pay off. It led to the Wii being a critical success and Reggie's biggest W. But sadly, Nintendo have gone down a greedy path where we are literally paying for a glorified user manual. But shockingly, that isn't the only feature that we should get included, as for some reason, game chat costs money. Now I don't know who thought this was a good look for the company, where a literal button is locked behind a paywall on your console, which should be included to begin with. You can only get this feature if you have Nintendo Online, which is $20 for the year. That's for the basic version. It's not like Nintendo are going to make a considerable amount of money having it locked behind Nintendo Online, because let's be real, who is going to be using game chat if they're not going to be playing games online with friends to begin with? It's just an awful look for what, a few extra dollars at best, And game chat is so bad to begin with, I wouldn't want to pay them for using it. I would want them to pay me to use this shit. We're not getting frames per second, we're getting seconds per frame. The picture quality looks atrocious on this shit, and Nintendo got the balls then to charge us for this shit. But at least we get it included with Nintendo Online. And like I said earlier, we aren't really going to be using this if we're not playing online to begin with. With what Nintendo's doing to game chat, it's honestly hurting them more than it's doing them good. Now, in my opinion, one of the biggest letdowns is paid upgrades. So to play your old Nintendo Switch games at an actual good performance, that's going to cost you. But it's all not too bad. It's only a few games that require money to have them upgraded, and you get added content as well. So basically, we're getting DLC and a performance update all in one, which isn't too bad, but two of the games were just straight up money grab. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Nintendo needed some added content for them to charge extra for the upgrades. And what did they add? A shared zone I build feature, and a map with markers of the little shitty Korok side quest. All of this shit just so they could have Breath of the Wild at 4K 60 FPS, which it should have been in the first place to begin with. Nintendo knew the game people wanted to upgrade the most were Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. No DLC, just two shitty features because Nintendo knew people would pay for it anyways. I know PlayStation have had paid upgrades, but just like how now, get this, buying your consoles, games and other doodads can be completely taken away from you by a brick. When I say brick, I mean your console can be bricked, and if you break their new user agreements, which nearly breeding will set this shit off, you will have $500 gone down the drain. And if you buy anything else, like the other games or Nintendo Online, that shall be gone to shit as well. Remember earlier how I said Nintendo won't be dropping their prices, but I know who will? Well, I was on about second-hand sellers, like the people on Facebook Marketplace. Well, all I'll say is, I would not advise anyone to buy a second-hand Switch 2, as with the new user agreements, your Nintendo Switch 2 can be bricked for reselling, which throws that idea out the window, of waiting to buy for a second-hand one. And it could be the same with second-hand games as well. But wait, it just gets better. As if you mod your Switch 2, it gets bricked now. I know people who aren't buying the Switch 2 now, all over the new user agreements. And honestly, I can't blame them. You should be able to do with what you want with your own property. As you've bought it, you own it. But now, you're only buying a license. Nintendo know what they've done isn't right, as in the new user agreements, they have also stated you can't sue them. How fucking pathetic is that? I don't care how much of a lick arse you are for Nintendo, you have to admit that is a low, and they can't go any lower. But charging $80 for a Nintendo Switch 1 game is pretty fucking low. Probably the biggest drama and most controversy surrounding the Switch 2 is gotta be whether Mario Kart World is worth buying at $80. By the way, Mario Kart World was planned to be on Switch 1, but it wasn't powerful enough, so they moved development to Switch 2. Look, there's strong opinions between the Nintendo lick arses and the Sony cocksuckers. And honestly, you can see both sides of the argument. Between the graphics and the controversial open world. In my opinion, the graphics are severely lacking for the Switch 2's Mario Kart. But to be fair, it was designed to be on Switch 1, but really, that means it should be less than 80. All I gotta say is the next Zelda is probably gonna cost 90. Now there's a lot of controversy about the free roam, and well, I'm all for it. It changes up the gameplay and brings new ideas. Sure, some parts suck like the straight roads, but I'm looking forward to a change of pace. And let's be real, it's either this or Mario Kart 8 for nearly another decade. And anyways, Mario Kart World isn't 80, it's 50, if you get the bundle. So with that, I've covered all the aspects of the Switch 2. And now I got to bring us back to what I said earlier. It's like buying cars. You don't buy a Rolls Royce because it's the best value for your money. You buy it because it's a Rolls Royce. You buy it for the brand. And it's the same with the Switch 2. Look, this console is way too expensive, but it's still Nintendo's next console and games. And if we want these games, we're just going to have to suck it up and buy it. And look, if the Switch 2 is worth it to you, buy it. If it isn't, don't buy it. You are given free will, so use it. It's fine to argue, and that's how we see and learn other ideas, but don't act like a dick. So with the final summary, The Switch 2 doesn't deserve the money, but it's worth the money. If you made it to the end of the video, well, thanks for watching and putting up with me. And if you liked the video, why not like and subscribe? I'm new to this content creating stuff and it would mean a lot to me. Well, thanks for watching the video.